Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Talking Horses. Andy Serling and Greg Wolf. We're in our second floor studio to close out the meet here at Belmont. And they have a fun weekend coming up, too.
Yeah, Andy Serling's last day of the meet. I'm honored I get to do your last Talking Horses of Belmont.
Thank you.
And, yeah, we're air conditioned in here. It's going to be fun. Fun final weekend to close it out with some Saturday's going to be terrific as well.
I agree. I won't be here, but I have been looking at the card quite a bit and looking at the Belmont Derby and Belmont Oaks, looking forward to those. And that Victory Ride Camp, a tremendous race. And when you think there's a couple others that could well be added to the test, it's our final prep for the test up in Saratoga on Whitney Day. That's going to be one heck of a race with Pretty Mischievous potentially going there. I imagine Money's Gold will cut back in there as well. But we've got 10 to talk about and a big pick 6 carryover, so we'll get to work. Head over to NYRA Bets. Use the promo code BONUS200. We will match the $200 of your initial deposit. We also have that pick 6 carryover I mentioned, 138,215. That's a big one-day carryover, even coming from the holiday on Tuesday. So big carryover starts in race number 5 of our 10-race card. We also have middle pick 4, races 2, 4, and 7 of a 10-race card. Pick 4s today. Let's see, what else do we have going on? We have 20% trifecta bonus. Opt in over at NYRA Bets and get 20% bonus on all winning trifecta bets. We also have Belmont Derby Challenge, $300 buy-in. You have until 5 o'clock today, a BC seat and cash prizes. A little bit extra for that one. That'll close today at 5 o'clock. Head over to NYRA.com/contests. And last but not least, 1 to 6, covering all 10 races today. And we started out, and we'll just go right to the replay and take a look at El Grande O finishing second in his debut. And I had a bit of a tip on him this day. Now, he was running against a horse that had run extremely well, only to lose first time. The only George Weaver horse that lost first time out. Of course,
1 to 5 favorite
picked
here.
And bet. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to try to beat this horse, Greg.
1 to 5 favorite, Twisted Filigree, who does win this race. But the 2 is El Grande O is the one on the rail. And gives this heavy favorite everything they can handle and more. And what, 4.5 lengths clear of the third-place finisher? The other horse, too, back in third, that horse was going backwards for most of the race.
I didn't see any reason to think that horse is supposed to pick it up. We'll see if things change second time out. And maybe El Grande O was cranked up first time. But
how short do you think El Grande O is going to be, though?
1 to 2.
Yeah, maybe.
I ran very, very well. Linda Rice up 4 on Chad Brown with 3 days left. Obviously, a win here would be pretty big.
I believe it's actually 31-26, yeah.
Okay, so it's 5. Well, I mean, if she goes up 6, it's going to be very, very hard. Chad Brown doesn't have the favorite in the last race and a bit of a price of the one horse he left in the Manila. But Linda, obviously, an enormous favorite to win this meet. And the others I looked at really were horses that making their first start in the grass. I looked at the number 6 horse, Special Agent Johnson for Michelle Nevin, a Klimt. And the dams produced 4 horses to try the turf. 3 of them won.
Yeah, I don't know if the horse can run at all, but I thought it was interesting that Robert Bales brings this horse from Laurel, and I'm just intrigued to see these Disco Partners. I love Disco Partner. Yeah. You know, that Jaipur 106 and 2. I have strong affinity for this horse, 10-time winner on the grass. So he's still seeking his first winner, new sire with his 2-year-olds getting started. We'll see if he can get his first one today, or at least hit the board.
Is a New York Braze, a Half the Mighty Robin and Eli, who I know is one of your favorite horses. You're excited to see her finally break her maiden the other day. Robbie Bales used to run a lot of horses up here. You know, it's funny. You know some of these trainers by their names, and he's a Maryland trainer, and I'd never met him or anything. And I was walking into the Saratoga sale, the one they have in the fall, a few years ago, and I'm walking in, and a guy stops me and goes, "Andy Serling." And I said, "Hi." And he said, "Robbie Bales." So I was able to put a face to a name at that point when I saw him. He used to run a lot of horse here, doesn't too much. I always have John Terranova in there somewhere, but I'm not going to try to beat the favorite here.
Real quick, that Ballyamore getting on the grass, did you think that one interesting at all coming in from Parks?
They're pretty low-profile connections. 1 of 4 horses from the dam, 1 on the turf. It's not a lot of turf on the dam side.
Okay.
The second dam is Honest Lady, who was a very, very good sprinter for Judd Mott and Bobby Frankel, who I needed for a 6-figure pick 6 at even money in the Ballerina and finished 4th. Right? Yes. Yeah. And her next start, she was second in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. She lost to Dream Supreme. I'm still bitter, as you can see. Race number 2. We'll start race number 2 with Permed. Greg, I get that Perm can win this race. I am going to bet against this horse. Obviously, if I'm playing a pick 5 and I have some other ideas later that were pricey, I would use Permed. But if I'm starting it out with the number 7, I got to try to beat some favorites somewhere. You got a 4-horse field in the 3rd race. I'm chalky in the 5th. The 6th race, I've gone off a little bit, so I could use the horse defensively. I don't want a horse of a 2nd-place finish in a slow maiden race first time, even though this horse has plenty of turf pedigree.
Yeah, And the turf pedigree, the second dam was Sweet Cat, who was a multiple winner on the turf, was graded stakes place, was actually third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. I just like this start, too, because I know it was a slow time, but broke like a rocket ship out of the gate and opened up a 2-length lead on the field like that. So I think potentially, we say all the time, dirt speed doesn't necessarily translate to turf speed. This horse might actually have some turf speed.
This horse better be fast to be faster than She's Fire, because these Kevin Rice horses are rocket ships. Every time we seem to see one of his shippers here, they come flying out of the gate. And this one, as we can see from Presque Isle, had plenty of speed. So I'm going to defer more to this horse. It just seems like every time he comes here, he's live. Now, on the other hand, the other ones that have won have been big prices. And this one's not going to be a big price. And Permed is a Street Boss. And Street Boss is a terrific turf sprint sire. He's a very under-the-radar good sire in general. I just can't bet him taking money for Todd because he ran second a dirt race and as Irad. If he was a first-time starter in here, I would use him prominently probably, but I think he's going to be too short a price, and I just went to this horse. Not that he'll be a big price.
There's not, as you kind of go back, there's not a ton of turf pedigree here, though, with this horse, is there?
It's a turf pedigree trainer.
Yeah.
It just seems like...
But you would think synthetic, it would translate, and really there's not a lot in there.
Yeah, it's iffy. I mean, there's also a lot of pedigree, including the 8 Sea Dancer, who you have second and I have third.
Yeah, that one, so what, is it... What's the name of the dam?
I gave you the name of the European for Graham Motion in the Belmont Oaks, okay? You should just be happy with
that. Which is the ownership group as well. So they produced this incredible horse who started 3 for 3 on the grass, Johannes, with that troubled trip in the American turf as well. So maybe this horse can run, as we'll see. Bill Morey, Pratt on board. The 8's dangerous.
I think that horse is dangerous. I mean, there's a lot of horses to take a look at. There's pedigree on the Terra Nova horse, Hidden Spin. I thought the 10 Grivette's 2-year-old sales work, 10 flat, was actually very impressive. Thought that horse could be dangerous for Jamie Begg, seeing Joel Rosario ride this horse. This is an unusual race. I'll tell you another horse. You have the horse fourth. I thought Smooth Waves would really benefit from the debut. This horse was very green first time out.
Yeah, and this one, too, usually you like to see the race under the belt, and sometimes you just throw it out. And maybe it is a throw-out race, but this horse early on, to me, was going backwards. I mean, there was, and I just looked at in the stretch run. It just kind of looked like was climbing a little bit, but maybe just not comfortable first time out.
I thought he was very green, this horse. I thought.
And it was a 20-to-1 shot who won that race. I didn't love this horse.
I don't love the fact that it's not knocking Ruben Silvera, who's done well with the limited starters he's had here, but Pratt rode first time. He goes to other ones, and it is Mike Maker for 3 Diamonds, and it seems like none of the local riders were interested, but maybe they all had mounts of other horses.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. It's Mike Maker. The Dam did produce English B, who was a 6-time winner, was graded stakes winner as well.
Full English B.
Yeah.
No, I thought this was a very, very interesting race. A lot more options potentially than race number 1. Race number 3, I went super logical in race number 3. We'll take a look at Security Code beating Fancy Joke. And I just wanted Security Code to beat her again. I know Fancy Code came back with a win, but I just think getting back in a little class relief, Security Code, she runs her race. She might be the best horse in here. No? You prefer Fancy Joke?
No, I thought it was these two, 1-2. There are a couple other interesting runners. I just thought for Fancy Joke in this spot, second start of her career, it was off a long layoff as well. I just think has more upside. And she came back adding blinkers, and she went straight to the front. I think she's going to be the one in front today. I know there's other speed.
Oh, no. She'll probably – well, it depends what Silver Fist does. I mean, and it's Ruben Silvera. And one of the reasons that Ruben Silvera does well is he is aggressive. When he has a speed horse, he goes. And this horse, the one time he rode 2 back, he went. And he outran some pretty quick horses like Try It Again that day. Now, my problem with Silver Fist off that race, and not that he's impossible, is she paid a big price that day, and also that track was extremely kind of speed. And I feel like with Fancy Joke in here, at the very least, she's going to be kept company.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of upside to Fancy Joke, and she might be, for this level, pretty good. Having said that, I don't even have the horse in my top 4. You do, but
You have the 4 in the top 4?
No, talking about a different horse. I thought the horse to actually beat, if you go back 2 starts back, was the 1, Happy Sophia. The reason I did not use this horse, I just thought that was with Linda, and I understand the horse won for a different trainer as well, but that race was so bad last time out. I'm just scared Happy Sophia's she's done 7-year-old mare now as well.
And she's a horse that had kept her form for Randy Persaud, and I know that she ran well for Linda Rice. Randy Persaud is a very tough trainer to claim from. I know a lot of people look and say he doesn't win a high percentage. Let's claim from Randy. The numbers off of Randy are not good, and conversely, Gustavo Rodriguez's numbers, not just at Belmont, but over a period of the last year, have not been good. I mean, his only win at the meet was that Curlin, or Mystical Curlin, that freaked in the mud with a 103 buyer that came back and lost at 3-5, getting a sloppy sealed track here the other day. So I look at the last race and I see going to barn that's been rather cold, and I don't feel like they are mutually exclusive, those things. And that's what bothered me, because you're right. She has plenty of races that can be competitive here. What about Backed by Gold, the 2? You have third. I don't have in there. I mean, I don't know what went wrong last time. She swerved and lost the right. I mean, I know what went wrong, but she's got races before that. Her race 2 back was good enough, but the rest of her races aren't good enough. That was my problem.
I had a hard time with this one in here. This is a 5-year-old mare that's going to have the rail in this race. I initially kept her off. I went back. I looked at this whole race again, and she's actually a little bit better than I thought. I tend to downgrade a little bit, maybe those winter races at Aqueduct compared to some of these here, but she's actually run some very good numbers. She doesn't have to have the lead. She's versatile. Her figures stack up against this group, I think. If Fancy Joke doesn't take that move forward, I do think the 3 and the 5 are the 2 to beat in here. But
I agree.
She's interesting to me, definitely, and she's tactical.
And her 2 good races, and you can dismiss her last race, were for Pat Quick. So maybe she's always just improved for Pat, and things kind of went wrong last time. He's given her some time. Tough race, though, off a 4-month layoff, but doesn't mean she can't win in there. Race number 4 was crushed by scratches. I like Market Alert. Olympic Dreams was going to be the favorite in here. And it's funny, because I was saying to you that if somebody said there was one scratch in race 4, I would have said it was Shadow Dragon, because he could have run the New York Derby, which I believe is a week, is 10 days from now up at Finger Lakes in a reasonably easy ship from Saratoga, where I thought we would see him. But Bill Mott elects to run him against Olders. And the other thing is, with these scratches, there's even less speed in this race, and this horse has absolutely no speed. We'll take a look at him winning last time. I just think he's badly pace compromised.
Where'd you have him initially if everybody was in the race?
I still had him 4th.
Yeah.
But I think, but I would have scratched into him for 2nd. But I changed my
I had him
picks
4th
when the scratches came out, because I just feel like with the scratches, he's just badly pace compromised.
Nah, no question. He did run, obviously, the best figure of his career last time out.
I like the horse
he needs to move forward, though. And
these are tough Olders. That's why I was surprised that he was entered here and not running. And listen, maybe he'll win here, and maybe they're thinking more of the Albany and Saratoga. And I get it, but this is not an easy bunch. And Sundays with Sandy now has
going to be very tough.
Pretty big tactical advantage. I was just hoping Prince of Pharaohs could stalk.
Well, let's go back to Sundays with Sandy for just a moment. How brutal was that beat?
If you bet him, disgustingly bad.
Yeah.
The horse that got up to beat him, and he never looked like he was going to lose that race.
Oh.
Never looked like he would lose.
Now, I think Sundays with Sandy's going to be very tough in this race. But again, now with the scratches, that horse could be a very short price.
Right. It just changes the whole dynamic of the race. And he's,
Shadow Dragon was 5-2?
Well, he's stake-faced.
Wow.
It's Bill Mott. He comes off a win with all those stakes. They bet horses like this. So where's the jockeys? Is Irad up one, or are they tied? Do you know?
I'll check that right now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know actually where they are.
For Prince of Pharaohs, the thing for me and why ultimately, I think Sundays with Sandy is going to be very tough. Even if Olympic Dreams was in this race, I thought was a major player. But 5 consecutive races now for Prince of Pharaohs. This horse it's a good thing. Some ways you look at it, he's run the exact same figure from Thoroughgraph that I look at. And even 7 of the last 9 races has been the same figure. There's been no progression whatsoever. And I think to beat Sundays with Sandy is going to have to move forward.
Well, if Sundays with Sandy runs his race, he's just way the horse to beat. He's a little bit unreliable, though. It's not like he has. I'm looking for the jockey standings through the program. It's not that problem that I have with Sundays is he's just not reliable. And I'm just hoping that Sundays with Prince of Pharaohs can stalk him, because when he runs well, he has speed. And I need to have a horse that's forward. Listen, I'm not going to be shocked if Big Bobby wins this race. His race 2 back was actually pretty good.
And that race makes him, a major player. And he is, well, of course that's going to change. But I was surprised he's 15-1 morning line, or was with who was in here. I agree with you. If he can run that race 2 back, and that was at a mile. He's a big player in this race.
Okay. According to this, they are tied. And this is through Tuesday. So they are tied coming in. I'm sure that never...
I was so fun. I was leaving the track yesterday. You and I, we take that shuttle that Arturo does such a great job of taking everybody to.
Go ahead.
Everybody was talking about Pratt.
Well, I mean, he had
5-win
incredible-
day.
And I
Incredible.
thought his ride on the 9 horse, I want to say, the George Weaver horse that won the
I know who you mean.
ninth
Yeah.
race or eighth race, whatever it was. That was a tremendous ride with that horse, getting such good position. And, he might beat Irad in Saratoga. Irad's a big favorite. I don't think the more I thought about it, your price is really wrong on that. Greg and I made a
The
small
more
bet.
you thought about it, my price is wrong.
I don't think that you
Oh,
made
you
a
don't
particularly
okay.
bad price.
Okay.
At first, I thought about it. Greg made Irad the 4 to 5 favorite, so around 58, percent to win the title in Saratoga. First thinking about it, I don't know because it's not.
Just gets more business than everything.
But Luis Saez beat him 2 back.
Yeah.
Believe me, I don't think you're wrong the more I thought about it. But
Okay.
still, we'll see what happens. Race number 5 kicks off the pick 6, $138,000 in the carryover. And I thought this was a really fun race. Let's start, though, with the replay involving the horse you have on top. Thank You, John, and Twirling Vine. I'll never, for the life of me, be able to figure out what the heck Thank You, John was doing as the favorite in this race. But he did have some trouble. He broke a little slowly. He now is an outside post, and he did get caught in some traffic. But still, I don't want him. I want horses from other races.
So he's dead last here. He obviously got compromised at the beginning a little bit. But I thought you immediately saw that this horse had a little bit of talent and started to run. And obviously he did. With a better break, it's tough to take Twirling Vine over him, isn't it?
Yes, these are not high profile. These are not connections that win a lot. And they seem to be connections that take an awful lot of money for a barn that never seems to win.
That's true.
And he's just going to get bet again. And he's now been burned as the favorite twice. And the other thing I want to say is, yes, he had that trouble. But once he got clear, he wasn't doing any running really at all. When did he really pick up at all? So, yes, he was compromised. Yes, there are reasons to think he can run better in here, and getting the outside post will help. I just think there may be some better horses near. I mean, I know Nobilis, is sort of a hard horse. He ran so well against Arctic Arrogance, who turned out to be one of the better New York bred 2-year-olds last year, and ran some good races this year. He caught a big speed track last time out in the slop. I just feel like Nobilis is the horse to beat in here, and I think he's going to be a bigger price than Thank You, John, because they just can't bet enough on Thank You, John.
I mean, obviously that horse must have shown a world of ability in the morning. And you see a couple of big bullet drills.
Where is it in the afternoon, though? That's the problem.
Yeah.
You see those works.
This is it. I mean, this is the start.
Yes,
right?
yes, because he has an outside post, which usually helps horses that have trouble getting out of the gate. I have to bet Chalky Cat in here. And I'm going to show Chalky Cat's entire replay of his debut. Now, obviously, things went wrong second time out. But, that was 4.5 months ago. And the winner of the race last time was actually a Chad Summers horse who came back and ran nowhere at a super short price. So he doesn't really break it here and ends up back there. But this is a crazy run this horse makes. I mean, this horse is going to make a run from here to 5 wide, to basically on top of the lead, and you can even see it in the chart how close the horse gets, and it's almost even closer. Horses aren't going to win races making moves like this. From dead last at the half mile to 3/8 pole, 5 wide, making this big move out there, and still runs a buyer figure that's pretty much the same as everybody in here runs, and surprisingly doesn't run well. Now, it didn't run well last time, but something may have gone wrong. Now, is it possible, because the bonds usually seem to do so well in Saratoga, they're working this horse in the turf, that they're thinking of getting him a race into him to win a race up in Saratoga turf? Yes. I don't care. I have to bet this horse. I have to.
Was this the race that did 19 Oysters ran this monster number?
Yes. And came back and didn't run anywhere.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it actually gets into contention here.
I thought this horse ran super. I mean, I just think there's plenty of reasons to like this horse. And this trip, if you look at the running line on this horse, you would never know that this horse had this trip, right? And it's nothing wrong with the running line. It's not incorrect. It's just where the calls happen to come.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I was talking about the next race, 19 Oysters. That was the
debut,
because
right?
he ran.
Yes. Yeah, he ran into a horse that ran a huge figure. Yes.
Yeah.
And 19 Oysters came back bombed, and I don't think has been seen since. I have a contract with this horse, so I'm betting.
9-2.
And then when he loses, I'll bet him on the turf at Saratoga.
No,
so
that horse is interesting.
Yeah.
That horse is, and it gets a little weight break too. That doesn't hurt.
See what happens. First 5. Late pick 5 after a quick break.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Welcome back to Talking Horses. Greg Wolf and Andy Serling as we go through today's 10-race card. And the late pick 5 starts in race number 6. Hopefully you're alive in the pick 6 of the carryover. I want to start the conversation with Perros.
Okay.
I know Bull Journey came back to win, and he ran a big figure. He also had a Super Gold rail trip against a subpar field. Don't you feel like there are better turf horses in this race than the one he ran in first time?
I don't like the figure this horse got in this race from thoroughgraph-wise, too.
Well, Timeform US has it very slow, too.
Yeah.
Bayer has it much faster than Timeform US, so that's interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't even put him in contention, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of this horse. Isn't he going to be relatively short? What price did... well, the other thing to talk about in this race, and I'll get to the race in my the program, is that the race was remarkably changed after scratches. And those scratches affect 2 major players. Now, you don't like Maxwell Esquire at all, a horse that I have a contract with and would have picked. But both he and the 9, aren't they both badly compromised by the scratch of Scacciatore, who is going to be forward here, and Chuck Willis, the two main speeds in this race?
Willis, huge scratch.
I mean, it just changes the total complexion of this race.
And it hurts, to be honest with you, it hurts Pine Knoll as well.
I'm saying it hurts Pine Knoll and it hurts Maxwell Esquire. We'll look at the last race. The reason that I was trying to turn the tables with Maxwell Esquire, besides the fact that I have mad love for him, I think that Manny gave Maxwell Esquire a very good ride last time because there wasn't a lot of pace and he put him in position. The problem is this is a horse that wants to make a run from the back of the pack. Mm-hmm. And I figured Irad would do that again today. And he is a horse that's been successful closing into slower paces. But I just thought the race was completely changed. And there is a horse that you and I will talk about that we as a team have a little bit of interest in that I think with the scratches is going to be completely loose.
Yeah,
we'll get to
We'll find out.
Pine Knoll ran fine in here. I'm just worried about the lack of pace.
He's going to be very far back, isn't he? And for me, with Pine Knoll, he had a little bit of trouble out of the gate. He bumped into that horse inside of him, and I think that got him a little bit further back than he usually is. I don't think Pine Knoll needs to be that far back.
No.
I think he could be a little bit more involved.
He's pretty slow. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, the pace may be
not
fairly
that
moderate.
bad as the last start.
The pace may be fairly moderate. We'll see where Jose puts him. As far as Senbei, this is a horse that Acacia had been telling us was working well on the turf in Saratoga. And when I looked at the scratches, because I was going to pick the race with Maxwell Esquire on top, I started looking, and the potential speeds are kind of murky. The 2 has a little bit after 5 does. There was a time when Senbei would have been long gone against this crew. Now, the concern with him, though, is he can't get out of the gate anymore. So he can't get left here. Because if he doesn't break here, he has no chance. I don't care how good he is in the turf.
And he has dirt speed. We don't know if he has turf speed.
Well, I'm going to say that Acacia's been high in the way he's been working,
okay.
So therefore he's supposed to be able to run on the turf. But
I want him to prove it to me.
I hear you, but he's not going to be that short a price, I don't think. And I guess with the scratches, he is going to be he'll be 3rd choice. They're 4th choice, probably.
Well, and word's going to travel, probably, right?
Yeah, but it's hard for them to bet him over Maxwell Esquire and Pine Knoll.
Yeah.
And you know they're going to bet Irad. And I don't need Maxwell Esquire as the favorite with the speed scratching out of the race. So for that reason, I didn't want to put him on top, and I just couldn't come up with anybody else. You have Bring Me a Check second. I don't know how this horse won last time. I mean, there are winners that you look back at big price and you say, well, okay, I guess you could have looked. I could not come up with a single reason anybody could possibly bet this horse last time. I still can't.
Almost 20 to 1. Yeah. Look, getting back to grass, this horse actually had some good efforts on grass. It wasn't just that one, too. You go back, there's actually some okay sneaky efforts where this horse ran pretty good on the grass. Pratt is just makes all the right moves.
That's great.
As trustable a rider as there is in the game.
No, I agree. And it's not to say there aren't other good riders here, but
yeah, not saying that at all.
I don't know what his weakness is as a rider.
Always takes advantage when he knows, even when a horse sometimes doesn't have speed and no one else is going, he'll take advantage.
Yes, he is.
And it pays off.
He is, and we saw it with the 5 wins, but we've seen it since he came here to New York.
But I guess the takeaway from this, we're both against Peros in a bit. Who's going to take money,
Yeah,
right?
I should have done third. I agree. I don't like that race.
Well,
now
I'm
you
third
told me
too.
that about the Thorograph, I like it even more because Beyer didn't agree with Timeform US. And I know Bold Journey won, but his win on a good rail would get him nothing in this field.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Race number 7, I was interested to see we ended up picking the same horse in race number 7, and we'll get to that horse in a minute. But I don't have a massive argument against the horse that you have second and I have third, Truly Quality. The only thing I'll say about Truly Quality as we look at the last race is this horse has been 7-2 and 5-2 in 2 races and failed to get it done. That bothers me a little bit. And with IRAD, this horse is going to be too short a price in a competitive race.
Look, it's a mile and a quarter. This horse just might really love the extra ground, too. And I just like there were 3 separate times in this race with Truly Quality. This horse is not scared to go between tight openings and between horses. He beat 3 separate times in that race. He did it. So this horse is not scared to run.
In a hurry to get that race over, guys. Yeah. He also ran well in the middle of the race. The second dam is Forever Together, who probably better at 9 furlongs, but I agree. There's not supposed to be a big problem with the distance, and distance is a real question. I sort of went between this horse and Headline News as the horse to beat. Because I thought Headline News ran a credible race first time out. Had a pretty good trip that day, but coming here with Jimmy Toner, I thought this horse, and also, who's going to be the speed here? Is it going to be Fly Right? Is it going to be When Love Takes Over? I mean, this would be a good time for them to say, okay, we got to be aggressive with this horse.
Just on pure figures, would you say Fly Right's the horse to beat off that last race?
Yes, but I don't believe this is a horse that's going to be effective in a mile and a quarter.
Okay.
The only way I would make him here is if he gets loose in the lead. And I can't see Jose Ortiz not being aggressive. And I feel like Trevor's going to be aggressive when Love takes over. Can they really possibly think he's winning this race in a mile and a quarter from behind? Yeah. And there was a time when he'd be so far in front of this field, it's not even funny. So it's hard to see him sort of not going. And Fly Right at 10 furlongs? I mean, he wouldn't have won. But I would have wanted him more in that mile race that the West Point horse for Cherie DeVoe won by a city block.
Oh.
Would have been second in there, but it could have run into another stakes quality horse. As far as Swore, the horse we have picked on top, I'll show the stretch run of his race. He's extremely green in here, and this was off a 1.5-year layoff. I mean, Centeno couldn't even ride him in this race.
Well, and the reason he passes 5 horses here in the stretch. Early on, he just gets choked and the brakes completely put on. I didn't even feel like Centeno needed to be as aggressive taking him back as he was, but he completely took the horse out of the race and then makes this big late run.
Lugging in this point. It was also a merry-go-round race. Other than him, they ran 1, 2, 3 around the track. 1, 2, 3 ran 1, 3, 4. What do you think happened early? Did he get in trouble or did he just strangle him back? I couldn't tell for sure.
It looked like I think a horse was coming over on him and he strangled him.
The problem is he's coming out of a terrible race. I mean, how is he better on thoroughgraphs?
Yeah. There's not a lot. I mean, obviously, Fly Right is a couple lengths quicker. But it wasn't a bad. It was the first time on grass, and he got a decent number.
Off a 1.5-year layoff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I was talking about this with David Aragona, who makes the morning line.
It wasn't off that I like this horse. It was off the trip.
Yeah, no, me too. No, I feel the same way. You can't, I don't think if you just took his second place finish there at face value, it's not good enough to win here. You have to say he had a trip, he's off a long layup, he's going to run better. I don't agree with David's line of 8-1. And he's made the point to me, and he's the morning line maker, and he's much better at this than I am. It's not even close. He said, well, how is he going to be a shorter price than Headline News or Fly Right or Truly Quality? And he's not wrong. Truly Quality is going to be short. I get that. I have a feeling he'll be closer to Fly Right. I think a lot of people are going to wonder if Fly Right wants a mile and a quarter.
Yeah, I agree. I think
Isn't it
8's too high.
Stern?
6-5 max, maybe.
Yeah, 5. I mean, I'm not sure 5 to 1's a terrible price.
Yeah.
I just feel like he's every wise guy horse. And now you picked him, and
Yeah.
I picked him, and it just
a bad
feels
sign.
like a lot of people are going to land on him. And I'm not saying he's a bad bet at 5 to 1. I just don't think he's going to be the 8 to 1 he is more.
And there's going to be residual. Not that we never think about this, but general public, is there residual carryover? Oh, Pratt had a 5-win day on Tuesday.
It'll be interesting to see what it takes for Pratt to start taking more money the way the money goes to Irad. And are more people going to be thinking that Irad and Jose are going to dominate because they're battling as though somehow makes their horses faster?
That's true.
But it feels like in a little way, and obviously it's going to be very, very hard for him to be a leading rider because he just doesn't overall get the mounts that Irad's going to get. But it's almost like that Tuesday card, who knows what day of the week it is, Pratt served notice a little bit, because we'll see. It'll be interesting, and we're very lucky to have so many good riders here. Race number 8, I thought, was a pretty fun race, and I want to start the conversation in race 8 with the horse you've completely left out, and that's Devil's Key. Here's the thing with Linda. Is this want to win a race? She didn't know she'd still be 5 up when she entered this horse back on Sunday. Or is this a horse she claimed at Churchill, got out of jail, and she's dropping in for a quarter before Saratoga, that she wants to lose him because she doesn't think he can win in Saratoga?
Is it that much of a drop, though? I mean, that was 40 against 3-year-olds, and now he's got to face older horses.
That's fair. That's fair. That's a very good point.
So that's one of the reasons why I shied away from this horse a little bit.
I'll tell you why I shied away. There's a lot of speed in this race.
Yeah.
I mean, Dad's Good Runner has speed. Pressure has speed. Makar has speed. And I mean, maybe this horse speed pops and Linda's horses seem extremely sharp, but this horse is going to have to go fast if he's going to lead, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's going to have to move forward, too. I thought there were enough reasons to say this horse is not one of her stronger ones. But maybe you're right. I mean, maybe this was we'll see. I think this is a tough spot for Devil's Key.
Let's talk about the horse that you have on top and I have on top playing with matches.
This, to me, was a much bigger drop than the 1. I just thought these were tougher races. This horse, Peros, who were both against in the turf race earlier.
Right, but this horse, and guys, we're going to skip the replay I put up. I just no reason. None of us picked those horses, so we'll skip that replay. This doesn't feel like a bad drop down. It feels like Mark's running where he can win.
Yeah, I agree.
He won a maiden 40. He's not a non-winner's a 1. He's proved it. What is Mark supposed to do with him?
Still, I still think that there's forward move with this. If someone does claim this horse, they might get an okay horse. This horse has put up back-to-back figures the last 2 times on dirt that if he does run a figure, it's in range of where this horse can run against better horses. I like the turf to dirt move as well. Just run with those different muscles. You wake up a little bit. I thought the next race, that last race, was going to be the wake-up race for him, but he put him on a different surface. So I think back to dirt, this is going to be the wake-up race for him.
And it's funny, that race 2 back had been kind of a key race. A lot of horses did run extremely well out of that race. None of them named Bobby the Tank, who finished second, but one of them being Peros. I like him too. I think, honestly, I actually think he's kind of the worst to beat in this race. I don't know what price he's going to be. I just think he's running in the right spot. It's not a negative drop down. Mark won a couple races the other day. He's logical in here.
Devil's Key is 8-5.
Yeah, Linda Rice and all those things. We'll see how they bet this race. With pressure, I mean, pressure's dropping down in here. He seemed fairly logical. You know he's going to be forward, but I'm worried he's going to be a bit of a pace victim. Because I think this pace is kind of contentious.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. He has figures that make him I just like the cut back in distance for him too. I think he's going to be dangerous in the spot. I thought the key horse in this whole race, and maybe he just can't run at all, was the 7. And you have the 7-second Copper Chalice. But you look at his works, and I know that the last work's on synthetic, the last couple are on synthetic, but he's got a dirt work in there as well. He might still be able to run and have some talent.
I was almost going to pick him on top. I was joking with David the other day because I said I knew he was on vacation when I handicapped his race. I said I know that he wouldn't be able to resist this horse. Lisa Lugovic, a big price. But the reality is, I hate the fact that this horse has 2 year-and-a-half layoffs.
Yeah.
That's a little bit rough. But every single dirt race this horse has run is basically fast enough to be competitive in here.
Yep.
He's going to get pace to run at. And he's also going to be a better price than he should be because the connections.
He's going to need some pace to run at, right?
Isn't he going to get some? I mean, it's hard to
He comes
imagine
from
this race is
so
going to have
far
speed.
out of it, including his debut. But whenever you can win your debut and do it from the way he did it, too, I think you get a little extra credit.
I bet Farragut at 9-1, the horse he beat anybody else. He's a very tough horse to resist in this race.
Yeah.
I'm going to use the 7.
And he's, what, 8-1? He's not going to be 8-1 probably, right?
Well, these are connections that aren't going to take a lot of money, you
that's
know?
true.
I mean, I guess it depends. If David's right, the Devil's Key is going to be a short price. And I've talked to a couple people that think Devil's Key's a cinch in this race.
Really?
And if David makes a horse 8-5, he's not likely to be wrong because that's a short price. You know what I mean? That's not 2-1 or 5-2. That's making a definitive statement in this race that's contentious. So I would guess that he's going to be right that this horse will be super short. Just because you and I don't like him.
Yeah.
We'll see. It seems like every time I try to beat these Lindas, they end up winning. I don't really know.
I think a lot of people, though, were looking at that, and I know you weren't by any stretch, but I think a lot of people, he's dropping it 40-25, Linda's on fire.
Your point's a very good point. A 3-year-old restricted
It's a tougher spot, yeah.
I agree. Race number 9, the Manila, came up a terrific race this year. It's $250,000 going a flat mile. I'm not sure who the horse to beat is among the big 3. We'll start with Major Dude winning the Penn Mile.
It's probably him, right?
It probably is him, though I will tell you, I think he's going to have to run better than he ran the Penn Mile because I thought he had a perfect trip, a great ride from
He took back a little bit at one point.
Because 2 horses were moving prematurely, and because the substitute track announcer got all excited and made a big deal about it, he was completely wrong. Because I remember that thinking, there was trouble, and watching it again thinking, no, I saw them moving prematurely and said, I'm not going to get sucked into that. And he went around, and he had a tough time getting up to beat a horse that is not as good as the horses that he's running against today.
No, that's a fair point. He just shows up every time, though, doesn't he? Another one, too, for me, who has not taken that move forward.
That's the thing. He's sort of consistent, and I wonder if somebody will move forward in here. I have nothing against him. Listen, I wanted to take a shot with activist investing. They've decided that the race was too tough and to point for another race, but I have nothing against him. I think that Talk of the Nation is the best horse if he runs his best race.
Okay.
I don't like that he lost this race last time out. And more than that, I don't like that he pulls. And I almost wonder if Jose maybe would be better off letting him go here. Dreamy Akona probably goes. Maybe sits second to that one. If he doesn't want to be aggressive, go. We'll take a look at him in his last race in the Jersey Derby. I worry that he's kind of a puller. He pulled down at Tampa, and it was such a weaker field. But look at him. He beat Mostache easily that day, and Mostache beat your horse Nagarak in his next start. So I just feel like he's forward. Yes, he should have won last time. Do we have a problem with this replay? If not, we can just sort of get rid of it. But he did move prematurely into a very fast pace.
He apparently is working exceptionally well right now, also, coming out of this race. So it's a good sign for Talk of the Nation.
I thought it was interesting that Shug chose to run here, not 1.25 miles. Probably thinks a little shorter is better for him. Shug McGay, he's probably right if he thinks that. I feel like his best race, he might be the best horse in here.
Okay. I feel like Najarok might be the best horse. I'm interested
his last race,
to get your take on this horse. I know, look, who he beat was not the toughest field. I just look at this race in this Pimlico Stake. He looks so athletic. He can
We'll get to it.
He can be put into any spot by Flavien Prat, and the figure he earned, he's a couple lengths faster than anybody in this race.
I don't know,
thoroughgraph-wise, but again,
such a perfect trip that day.
But he's a horse who can get himself that trip anytime,
right? But do they always get those trips, you know? And aren't Talk of the Nation and Major Dude considerably better than anybody's ever beaten?
No, that's completely fair.
That was my concern. I mean, listen, I'm not going to be shocked if any of the big 3 win this race at all. But listen, you have to make a decision. And for me, I'm trying to beat this horse. For you, you're sort of trying to beat Talk of the Nation. And he's the one I like the least. This was a tremendous private purchase off one of the worst rides you'll see on a horse running second in his debut. And, I mean, they've done great with this horse. They couldn't have paid that much money for Son of Lee, after that debut at Indiana Grand. This was a great, great purchase. I'm going to be shocked if he wins. I feel like he may have to take a step forward.
Okay.
You don't agree?
I think I just love his athleticism. And I think he took a big move forward in that race. At Pimlico, we'll see. But third off the bench today of his 3-year-old campaign, I think he has more room to move forward.
What about?
By the way, upgraded for the first time to a Grade 3, this Manila.
and we move the purse up as well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I look back on Bricks and Mortars winning this race as a 3-year-old is one of the most. We're showing that in the show, which I was glad to see, is one of the more exciting wins you'll see. We've had some great running. You know who took a terrible beat in this race? He's won 3 Grade 1s, including 2 last year, as a 3-year-old. Took a brutal beat in this race. I believe he got beat a Zop at the wire. Didn't Casa Creed lose this race to Fog of War?
Did he really?
Somebody beat him. I feel like Casa Creed lost this race by a Zop.
Oof.
I think so.
Sorry, Lee.
I heard from Lee the other day. What about More Than Looks? I don't want to fall asleep completely. It's going to be very hard for this horse to beat all the big 3. This horse isn't that bad. He's got to take a step up in figures. He ran very well when he lost 2 back. He was bumped around in the stretch last time. They're inferior horses, but they're not that bad, the horses he's running against. I thought this horse for Cherie, if you want a price horse to get in there, I thought he's the one that can get in there to price.
And the other Chad Brown runner, Ballooney, what'd you think?
I just don't like this horse.
Okay.
I think he beat a relatively subpar field when he won the Woodhaven. And I know he didn't lift off in the Pennine Ridge, but I'm just not sure he's very good.
Yeah, I was with you.
Yeah. I mean, I get running him in here. He's stake-faced, active invested, making his first start since October in this spot. I would be shocked if he turns out to be a better horse than Activist
You were going to pick Activist Investing?
Yes. Activist Investing is a very interesting horse. First of all, horses routinely improve their buyer figures 10 to 15 points from 2 to 3. He was 3 wide last time against a gold rail in a super, super slow-paced race where nobody else closed. Scramble's probably 5 points better than that figure. This is a horse that was entered in a tough field that got rained off earlier in the year, and I thought he was going to be tough in there. It was older horses. He ended up getting scratched. Actually, at the Talk of the Nation race, I think he had the sniffles, and coming back, it was probably, I've got a thing for him.
Is he okay?
Yeah, he's fine. He's
Okay.
going to run probably fine. This is just
Okay.
This is probably a little bit overly ambitious first time out. I just have a contract with him.
Okay.
So, financial advice in the last race, and we will show his first replay, or her first replay. Then she runs against Prerequisite and Highland Grace, who's won 2 straight races.
Yeah. This is against a horse who third the Grade 3 Florida Oaks who wins this race, right?
Do you feel like, and I'm going to show you surprisingly bad numbers for Chad Brown, maiden special weight to maiden claimer in turf routes. There were 2 things. I didn't ask Chad about this, so I wouldn't ask him. This is some give up on a horse with a European pedigree this quickly, a filly. And if this horse was so live, why wouldn't they wait to Saratoga to drop into a maiden race to get a win up in Saratoga? Those are pretty lousy numbers for Chad Brown. I mean, 20%'s okay, but everybody wins in the 17 to 20% with this stat, right?
So he's
subpar.
I would think he's 28%. So that a lot of those are sprints?
Dirts. On turf? Or just generally?
I believe so. But it must be a lot of sprints, maybe.
I don't know. These are the numbers.
Or maybe it's overall. Maybe I got it
At
wrong.
Belmont Park, he's 2 for 16 with a 52-cent ROI.
Wow. So let's talk about the second start.
She's way the horse to beat. I'm not against her.
No, there's a couple I mean, Diamond Status isn't. Whiskey Lullaby's really interesting. The second start for financial advice. Did it not? First of all, it's prerequisite, as you said, Highland Grace are in that race.
Horses.
She wasn't that far out of it mid-stretch in there. And to me, it looked like Irad just
She's
sort
not
of
slow.
He didn't press on with her at all. He knew he wasn't going to win the race. And she might have been a little further back than she could have been because he said, look, it's over. We're not going to win here.
I will be honest, I did not watch it over again.
Okay.
It's funny that he's not riding this horse that Pratt is riding, so I don't know if there's a story or not. He's riding a horse Volatility that I bet last time that Manny gave an absolutely perfect trip to, and the horse was awful. My problem, I was going to pick Whiskey Lullaby in this race, to be honest, and I decided to take a horse I was going to put lower because it's going to be a much better price. The problem with Whiskey Lullaby is the post. Because he's a speed in here, and it's going to take a lot for this horse to get over, don't you think? Especially with the 7 in here, Can't Keep Me Down, who's got tons of speed. And I can't imagine Silvera's going to make it easy on Kendrick. And I'm just worried that Whiskey Lullaby is going to have a tough time getting over.
Yeah.
Whiskey Lullaby has faced good horses her whole career on turf, right?
It is an awful post. They start right on the
Just a
turn.
tough spot.
But having said that, this might actually be the horse to beat.
No.
If you take away post.
Financial Advice is the worst to beat.
Okay.
I think. Well,
No, I
you're not
agree
wrong.
with you. It's not
because
far off.
because Whiskey Lullaby has run much faster races.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. I agree.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, they're faster. You know, the other thing is Michelle Nevin won the other day at 7-1 with one of these drop downs, and I feel like I missed the boat. As far as Meow Meow Hiss, This horse, I don't really. I'm not saying the horse was going to be competitive last time, but I'm not exactly sure why Eric Cancel was in a different county than the rest of the field early in the running of the race. And it is a bad habit that he has of just getting lost in races. You've got a trainer switch. Jimmy's not here. I think Horacio De Paz is terrific. It's won races. You've got Trevor, who's going to get the horse a little bit more in touch because the first race, the horse wasn't that slow. And I just thought in the trainer switch, I figured I don't want to try to be financial advice with the second choice. Why don't I try to beat the horse with a bigger price the more I thought about it?
You're going to get a big price, yeah.
I would use 6, 9, and 10 here.
Okay.
I mean, is there
But
somebody?
you're right. I mean, financial advice, no question's the one to beat.
It's just these horses do have a tendency to do well. The thing about Diamond Status is that field was a lot. That was a maiden 40 Masquerades, a maiden 75, and this horse has had so many chances.
No, I agree with you. 0 for 10 on the turf now. I just, again, paired up a couple of numbers that actually got quicker numbers thoroughgraph-wise than financial advice has. But there's more upside with financial advice. It's not even close.
Maybe. But then again, they're dumping in my financial advice into a claiming race. So who knows? Maybe she's really just not very good. And it's interesting with the Wooten Bassets. There was a big fervor for them because he's one of these horses that was bred to very few mares his first year and had great success. But the Wooten Bassets we've seen that have come over here, they really haven't been very good. So maybe it's one of these things that they got more optimistic about them, and it turns out that they're just not panning out. I mean, we'll see, right? Slumber had that. I said it to Chad Brown that Slumber was like the American version of Wooten Bassett, but I don't think he was bred to many mares before he moved to Kentucky. So it's sort of a little bit of a gap between that first crop he had, and maybe we'll start seeing more Slumbers because he had great success when he had that first crop.
I'm interested in this pick 6 today.
You playing?
I think I'm going to go after it.
All right.
But everyone out there should as well.
Yeah, no, this is a big single-day carryover, and we have not had too many carryovers at Belmont Park. Speaking of carryover, you'll play it through Naira Bets. Head on over. If you're not a member, use the promo code BONUS200, and we'll match the $200 of your initial deposit. We have pick 6 carryover, $138,215. That kicks off in race number 5. We have the pick 4, middle pick 4, 2, 4, and 7 in our 10-race card today. We have 20% trifecta bonus. Opt in over at Naira Bets. We'll give you 20% bonus on any trifectas you hit. We have the Belmont Derby Challenge. You'll have until 5 o'clock today, 4.5 hours. Go over to naira.com/challenge. And finally, 1 to 6 for what will be my final one at Belmont.
And you and I are on early today.
We are on early.
We're going to kick the show off.
We will be switching our seats. You'll have an actual professional host in for the real show. And I was thinking I was coming in. We're not going to be back here for almost 10 months.
That made me sad when you
I
told
know.
me that. I love Belmont Park so much.
I agree. Next year, I'm going to have to walk around and take pictures all around this place. I've been coming here. First time I came here was 1975.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
If you can get out here this final weekend, it is a great, especially Saturday, tremendous
Saturday's
day to
card's a
come.
great day, yeah. Got a lot of stuff going on, too, with food trucks and a lot of family fun stuff. So come on out. Greg and I will be back on America's Day at the Races at 1 o'clock. Johnny I is getting started with the reprise, the scratches and changes.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day